Hello together and a very warm welcome to our today's webinar with the great and interesting topic Efficient Parts Management with PARTsolutions and SAP ECTR. As speakers, we have our experts Jürgen Heimbach from CADENAS and Arne Geiser from DSC with us today. And of course, you are also today with us. We are really happy to have over 300 registrations and registrations. This is just great, and it's incredible that that many showed up of you. Before we start, just two things. Of course, you're always welcome to ask questions. Our experts will answer them after the main part, and if we don't have enough time, then we answer them all afterwards. We will also provide the recording of the webinar to you. And yeah, speaking about time, I want to directly pass over to you, Jürgen.
Yeah, hello everybody. So 300 participants, that sounds awesome, Arne.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's a motivation to show you today what's part management and how effective it is together with SAP ECTR. Before we start, I want to tell a couple of things to CADENAS. So CADENAS, the name is coming out of the Spanish language and means chains. We use it for process chains. Process chains because our motivation is always to improve and to embed our solution inside the process chain of our customer. So CADENAS is almost 30 years on the market. We have 400 employees worldwide, which are separated to 11 different countries. We are on 3 continents, and we have more than 10,000 customers where our solution are using. What do we do? So we see us as bridge or connection between the manufacturer or supplier and the industry. So the manufacturer, they are preparing their information, their products, and they digitalizing this information together with us, and they are preparing digital twin. So here we have customers like a Festo or Misumi or Gunter or Rital, which are used by the industrial companies like a MAN or KUKA or Brown, Gillette, Procter & Gamble, and they use these parts as digital twins, and they embed these parts to the CAD and the PLM system. Yeah, so I looked around a little bit and I'm often asked, so what exactly is PLM and what is a part of the part management? And for this, to show it a little bit more as metaphor, I prepared some example from the real life. So here you can see that's a supermarket. The supermarket, they contain a lot of products. You can almost tell unlimited from 3,000, 4,000 manufacturers. And that's a part of the part management system. And on the other side, you also have, here you have a fridge. And the fridge, it's what we call a PLM system. The PLM system have to be very compact. You try to have as less goods as possible inside your fridge, because if you have too much goods inside your fridge, it's blowing up. So why you should have 10 types of milk from different brands inside your fridge, that does not make sense. That's a lot of products what you don't need. You also have to invest a lot of money to have all these brands inside. So what we also have, we have a connected world between these two systems. That means the supermarket, if you stay in a supermarket, the app of the supermarket knows what's inside your fridge, and it will also lead you and tell you, I already have these goods or I already have these products. Or they also know what are the favorite brands of your family so that you buy the right things. And from the supermarket, you fill from time to time your fridge if you want to cook a meal. So we also have intelligent find methods. So the app of the fridge also can, the app of the supermarket can also tell you by a search, for example, you need this goods to prepare this meal. So they also help you to select the right things in the engineering, or if you want to provide a meal. Yeah, so far at this point, that's a small explanation. So I handle it over to Arne. So Arne, if we are talking about fridges, you are the manufacturer of a fridge. So what you're doing exactly at DSC?
So thank you, Jürgen, for the introduction. It's a very good example you have chosen. So a fridge, yes, this could be us. And what we are doing, we have cool products or solutions like Engineering Control Center, like the interface to the CAD systems, and further additional modules as well. Again, processes is also very important for us, and also processes, as you mentioned, from supermarket to an SAP system to the fridge. It's a process how to bring in the parts, how to bring in the goods, and what's for us very important and also for our customers is the downstream processes. So this means when logistics comes into the role play, this makes a lot of sense. For instance, with the goods in your fridge, you would like to prepare a cake. So there are eggs, there are fruit and cream, or what else you need for preparing a cake. And in process industry, it's recipe management mainly. In our world, it's BOM management, so something that's very important. Thus, we are dealing with PLM in an SAP environment, and that's what we are doing. We are doing PLM in an SAP in an integrative way, and what is our goal? We would like to accompany our customers throughout this kind of journey. It's not a project that happens in one step. It takes a longer time, and during the whole time we are accompanying the customer. That's what we're doing in short words.
So thanks for this explanation what DSC is doing, Arne. So before we will see, also presented by Arne and the team, how you do parts management. Of course, the big question is why you should do parts management. And it's always about costs. It's always we are talking about costs and time saving. So for example, if you see this graphic, inside this graphic, if you be a controller, of course you want to investigate where are most of your costs occur. And if you do this analysis, you also will see that most of the costs are in the production, in the purchase, because that's what finally is inside your system, that you have to invest most of the money inside these departments. But if you really ask yourself as controller, so can I really decrease the costs by percentage inside these departments? So you have to give the right answer. It's maybe only 2%, 5% by a harder negotiation with the manufacturer. So the big question is, if you cannot decrease in these departments your costs, so where you can decrease it. And there you have to go back to the roots, that's the engineering. So inside the engineering, you can not really decrease the costs from the euros, but you can influence the decrease mostly in the engineering process. In the engineering process, by reusing parts, you can save your company a lot of money. So also if you take a standard part instead of a self-made part or company-specific part, or if you reduce the number of purchase parts, you have a big cost saving. So I want to show you this in two charts on this slide. So on the left side you see a part So many of us already modeled a part, so it causes you maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes to model this part. Maybe in your company it would mean $50 or $100. So most people think, but the reality looks like different. So to model these parts, it's less effort, but at the end, if you see what you need as additionally documents to really manufacture these parts, you need a fixture, you maybe need some special tools to manufacture it, you need some special plans, you need a life cycle documentation. So most companies have 100, 200 documents to make this part, and that will lead very, very fast to tremendous costs. Tremendous costs you can see here in another chart. Here you see it depends whether you make a machine or maybe you be in a defense. Where people maybe also get in contact with your products. So where you risk the life of people. So you see it starts at €200, go up or $200 and go up to maybe 20 or 30,000 dollars. So the goal is, of course, that you reuse parts, that you start to generate lesser parts. Let's go through a user journey. The user journey starts at the top where you see a magenta part, and there's an engineer. He needs a part. So his first goal is, of course, to search inside the internal parts world inside the fridge. So you also see that search and find components often need a lot of time. So we investigated that 25% of the time is dedicated to find information. That's 10 years in your worker's life. So of course here the problem starts because these people need a lot of time to find these parts. They not even start to search these parts. And what happened? It happened that you get more parts and it gets up to a parts jungle. So how we want to solve this? So CADENAS, we invented very cool functionalities, not a simple text search. It's a shape search in 3D. You even can call it partial shape search, where you select a couple of topologies and then you get similar object having this same topology. Or you make a picture with your iPhone, or you sketch something with a pen, and then you get instantly good hints. We're also working on predictive engineering, where we try to tell you what's the next part. So that are intelligent methods to find the parts. So your goal, of course, is also to find these parts inside ECTR in the internal parts world. And whenever you can't find it with these methods, you also can go to the external parts world, what we call a supermarket. So then you select it, and most people think it's now going automatically in the fridge or in the PLM system, but that's not like it is. We also have the purchasing department, we also have the material experience department, and these departments also need to give their knowledge, and if all parties are common, then it moves in the internal parts world. So far the user journey, so I handle this controller up to Anne.
Thanks, Jürgen.
So Anne will show us the UI and of course the processes.
Yes, so again, on the left-hand side, you see CADENAS PARTsolutions, the supermarket with the lot of parts available. This means catalogs, standard parts. And on the other hand side, SAP, the refrigerator Jürgen mentioned, with a selected number of parts which are necessary to support your processes. So very often the designers start in CAD, they search for a part, they find it in CADENAS, and the next step is to bring them into the SAP system to be used in further processes. On the other hand side, there are parts created with a CAD system in SAP and managed there. CADENAS doesn't know it. So what are we doing? The triangle you see in the background is an information flow, also a transfer of data from one system to the next, and that's exactly what we would like to present to you with various scenarios we have prepared and live demos about this specific solution. Jürgen has mentioned on the CADENAS side a lot of different search capabilities, and we will focus later on especially one. It's the geometrical similarity search, which we would use in two scenarios, engineering and also for the order process. Other techniques are also available in SAP, which are very specific for SAP, and most of you already know them, so I don't want to take too much time to explain them to you as well. So CADENAS PARTsolutions, what is it? It's a big store, a lot of data that's managed in it, and in the tabular way you see data or members that are categorized based on their classification. So it's classification, members in a classification, and what you see in the middle, that's very important. There we could also display SAP information. So it's the arrow back between SAP and also the CADENAS system. Once the part exists in SAP as well, then you get the information also available in PARTsolutions. So it's back and forth. Furthermore, there are 3D previews available here for the nut and also similar parts that are visible here. Furthermore, a lot of information from, in case of catalog part, from the manufacturer. So in ECTR, how does it look like? We also manage the parts that are created with CADENAS PARTsolutions, and we also have additional information. So when we start on the left-hand side, you see here the Engineering Control Center with the folder structures. Folders can be used for search purposes. The master data as well, which you see here. The classification of the objects, either document or material classification. Above, you see preview pictures, so it's a graphical navigation through an SAP class hierarchy, which is also possible. Furthermore, you can search for the connected objects or the related objects via object links. So this is how to find a document. That's also possible, or an object that's related to a project or to a customer order and so on. And on the other hand side, you see there is another screen. It's so-called Crosspoint for full text search. It's another product of DSC allowing to search for documents such as PDF drawings, but also emails or specifications. So this means office documents and others. To make you familiar with what happens in the next scenarios which we prepared, we first give you an overview, also with a live presentation. So we start on the left-hand side, on the upper left-hand side, with the CADENAS window in Engineering Control Center, where we display all the catalogs which are available here. This is only a selection of several hundreds of catalogs available. We navigate into the catalog. We are here for the bolts. Once we have found a specific bolt, we can use it. You can also use the catalogs that are available already, or parts of the catalogs that are already available in Engineering Control Center. This is presented here. There's a specific command, and you can display all the relevant information for this part. Here we selected a Harting connector, and you get all the manufacturer information regarding this specific part. These two situations will be shown by my colleague Stefan from Engineering now.
Now we would like to show you the different possibilities and advantages of the integration solution PARTsolutions for SAP ECTR. We will do this directly in the system. I will start with the SAP ECTR interface. From here, I have an online view of SAP based on the corresponding SAP authorizations. On the left side, I see the desktop window. This window shows the mapping of folders, folder structures, objects in folders, and/or materials or documents. On the right side, we can see the object browser window. This displays the master data for the documents selected in the desktop. For example, the classification, a visual preview, or various information on the structure. In the following, I will show you the object browser, the desktop, and the CADENAS PARTsolutions window. For this purpose, I've already created my own layout. In the CADENAS window, I can see various catalogs. There are catalogs for standard parts in accordance with DIN and manufacturer catalogs available. Here, I only see a small selection. Via the Open in PARTsolutions function, directly from the SAP ECTR desktop, I can display a part in a corresponding manufacturer catalog. In the CADENAS PARTsolutions window, I find the part. On selecting this, I can see the master data, text information, and 2D or 3D views. In this case, I have selected a plug from the Harting manufacturer catalog. I navigate back to the start page in the CADENAS PARTsolutions window and select the DIN standard parts catalog. Here, I search for a hexagon head screw. On the right side, various filter options are displayed for pre-selection, which I can scale via a slider. The individual values are dependent on each other. In other words, there are dependencies. I specify that diameter of the bolt should be between 9 and 10 mm. Subsequently, a selection of the bolts appears that corresponds to my search criteria. I decide on the first search result. Also here, we can see the master data and further information.
Well, thank you, Stefan, for this overview. Now let's go to the scenarios. So first of all, we would like to show you the process from the supermarket to the fridge. So this means how do we create parts and how they are available in an SAP system. There are two ways. The one starts in Engineering Control Center, the other one in the CAD system. For our demos, we use NX as a CAD system, but as Jürgen mentioned already, you can also have another CAD system at your fingertips and create different CAD files. No problem. CADENAS is a multi-CAD system. SAP can also manage multi-CAD files and tools. So here again, we start on the left-hand side in Engineering Control Center. That's the first way to create new parts. We find a part, and as you can see here, with the blue area is empty, so the part is not yet managed in an SAP system, and this means we have to create the part if we would like to see it in SAP as well. There's a command in CADENAS PARTsolutions to generate a CAD file, and a lot of things happen in the background. These are described in area 3. We create a document info record in SAP. So we transfer the geometry from CADENAS to SAP. We also create a JT preview picture. Furthermore, we generate a fingerprint which we will use for geometrical similarity search, and something that's not very typical. Immediately, we also create a material master for this specific document to make sure that it's not used for purchasing and other purposes. We classified it to be in request, and this is very transparent for all the people involved. If this process is run and done, what happens? The part is available in SAP, and that is the result. It can be seen in Engineering Control Center as a document related to a material master, and we can display the master data. Again, Stefan, please show us how this looks in reality.
To create a part from SAP ECTR, I switch to the CADENAS PARTsolutions window and select the DIN standard parts catalog. I would like to create a hexagon nut. To do so, I first select the nuts catalog and then the hexagon nuts catalog. To restrict the number of search results, I use the sliders to change the thread diameter from 9 to 12 mm and start the search. I select the nut in accordance with DIN 6331 with an M10 thread. In the CADENAS PARTsolutions window, I see that the master data is still empty. This means that the geometry has not yet been created and stored in the SAP system. That's why I now create the NUT. I create it using the button Add Dataset to Link Database. In the process, I create an ERP number. In the dialog, I specify the material of the NUT and the availability in the different locations or in the different plans. In this case, I select the material 25 chromium molybden 4 and availability of the nuts in locations 1 and 3. PARTsolutions automatically creates the ERP number and applies the selected material and availability. In the next step, I create the CAD data for the NUT. To do this, I select the function Generate CAD Data. In the NX window that appears, I can see that the geometry was created as a feature-based NX construction. We have set up our system so that a material master is created at the same time. Of course, it is possible to modify this, and it depends on your respective process. First, I enter the core data for the material and the material status. Our standards management decides on the usage. That's why I assign status 00 or waiting for approval. On clicking Save, I finish creating the NUT. In SAP ECTR, I can now see the document for the NUT. From the material symbol, I see directly that the respective material has also been linked. I find it in the linked objects container. From the color of the material symbol, I can tell that currently it has not been released. Via SAP ECTR, macros or search functions, it is possible to submit this type of documents to standard management for verification in so-called work lists.
Well, thanks Stefan for explaining us how this works. Now let's concentrate on another aspect to create parts and bring them into SAP. In this situation, we would like to start in the CAD system. This means in NX. As you can see here on the left-hand side, this is the classification from CADENAS. Here again, you see the window where you can select the parts. So all the catalogs are available in NX in so-called seamless way. So you don't have the idea searching in CADENAS PARTsolutions. It's directly integrated in NX. And then again, the same things happen as you have seen before. So the question is the part available in SAP already? No, since the blue area is empty, no real information from SAP inside. So the background process starts again when you select to generate the part, and again the part is transferred to SAP, the 3D geometry, the document info record created, and furthermore, as I mentioned, the creation of a material master is done, and at the end you will see the result in Engineering Control Center. The part is available, the master data is managed, you get the information in the blue area about the SAP information, and furthermore the 3D part, the JT file we created, is also available. And this JT part or VDS, it depends on what you would like to have for downstream processes, is available for all the rest of the people allowed to access this data in your company. And again, Stefan, please show us how this process is run.
To create a part from NX, I activate the Seamless function in the PARTsolutions menu. I switch to the Catalogs tab. The catalogs are shown in the Seamless bar. I navigate to the Hasco catalog and look at the catalog parts there. Then I switch to the Search tab. Here I enter a term to search directly in the catalogs. In this case, I search for a handle. The list of search results is displayed directly below the search. The results are sorted according to occurrence or alphabetically. I can see from the green marking that these parts are already in the catalog. I decide on a handle from the Bossart catalog. The master data for a handle with an M6 thread has already been created. However, I would like to create a handle with an M10 thread. After changing the thread size, I see that there is no master data available for the handle. This means that the handle with these characteristics has not yet been created. To create the handle, I select the function Transfer to CAD. This system is set up so that it automatically creates a material master when a part is created from an X. I maintain the material master data and the material status accordingly. Clicking on Save creates the part. After creating the handle, it is displayed in an X. On the left side, I see that the part was created as a feature-based NX construction. Using the SAP PLM tab, I switch back to SAP ECTR. We can now see the handle in the active folder. In the object browser, we can see the handle's master data. Via the context menu, I open the handle in the CADENAS PARTsolutions window. Here, I see that the material and the location availability are missing. I complete both. For the material, I select the steel 25 chromium molybdenum 4 and specify that the handle is available at locations 1 and 2.
Thanks, Stefan. Now we have seen how parts have been created, so the parts are already in an SAP system now. So what happens next? Jürgen mentioned part management is used to find, to reuse parts that allow you to make most value out of this kind of thing. So what are we now showing to you is how to use components that already exist in SAP and how we are using them in our design work. And here again, let's start using a component that exists in SAP already. We start on the left-hand side in Engineering Control Center and select an assembly. And with this red rectangle, this is a component we would like to replace with another one that exists in SAP. Again, we use search capabilities in NX seamlessly. We replace one handle with another one, and the result, you can see here, is a new assembly. But that's not all. We would also like to show you, here with the color blue, to apply also Engineering Control Center in this little user story or process. Using the Add Component dialog or command in Engineering Control Center for the NX integration, we directly open ECTR, open this window you already have seen. It's the CADENAS PARTsolutions window. Search for a component in CADENAS PARTsolutions window and select this nut you see here and place it in our CAD system. And what's very important, that's behind me, it's the bill of material. Since we're in an SAP system, replacing one component with another one allows us also to maintain the bill of material automatically. Furthermore, quantities, if you position two nuts would appear in the BOM. So it's a transparent process. My colleague Stefan will now present to you.
First, I display the master data of the crank handle assembly in the object browser. Then, in the components container, I have a look at the information on the individually installed components. In the Bills of Material window, I display the respective bill of material. For this purpose, I drag and drop the assembly here. Clicking on Expand All displays the complete structure of the bill of material. I see that the handle has material status 01 and that the material symbol is colored red. Consequently, the handle may no longer be used. The crank handle has the status 00 and still needs to be released. To exchange the handle, I open the crank handle assembly to be edited in an X. I would like to replace the handle with a different model to be used for all new products. Therefore, I switch to the CADENAS PARTsolutions tab, select the handle, and then select the replace function for the selected instance of the handle. The previous handle and its master data are displayed in the seamless bar of the window. I switch to the Search tab and search for the handle. I restrict the search by only looking in the Bossart catalog. I look at the visual preview of a revolving handle with a screw in diameter M10 that is already available in the subsystem and select it. By clicking on Transfer to CAD, the handle is incorporated in the design or is replaced. The handle is not yet in the correct position. That's why I modify the assembly constraints. Now I would like to add another hub block nut. To do so, I select the option Add Component from the SAP PLM tab. I select SAP ECTR as the type of document selection. In SAP ECTR in the CADENAS PARTsolutions window, I search for a hexagon nut in accordance with DIN 70615. I choose the first search result. From the metadata, I see that the nut already exists in the subsystem. The diameter, or DA, of 10 mm is also correct. I open the nut in SAP ECTR using the function Open in ECTR. The nut is now visible in the object browser. Via the context menu, I open the nut in NX. Using the Part to Place dialog, I put the nut in the right place. Finally, I save and close the assembly and go back to SAP ECTR. Here, I update the document structure. The hexagon nut and the new handle are now visible in the components container of the crank handle assembly. I update the BOM in the Bill of Material window. Here I can also see the newly installed components. All items of the Bill of Material have the status 00 and still need to be released. I have a look to see where the new handle is also used. I can see this in the where reference container. After expanding the container, I see that 3 other assemblies also use the handle.
Thank you, Stefan. For the live presentation so far and also for the next scenarios, we are using NX as you have mentioned. So some of you not only use NX but perhaps another system instead or several of the systems. One feature of CADENAS and also of SAP is to manage data from various CAD systems. How is this done? So in SAP we manage for each of the CAD systems a so-called document info record. Also CADENAS knows that for each of the components there is a file available. And starting in Solid Edge, you will always open a Solid Edge file and not an NX file. That's one advantage. Another advantage is you have one material but several CAD or output formats. That's dealt or handled in SAP. So Multi CAD, CADENAS, Multi CAD, SAP is a very strong factor for parts management. Now let's have a look onto search capabilities that are a specific feature of CADENAS and how we could use them with SAP. Therefore, we start in engineering with creating a new part and how geometric similarity search supports us in this process. This can be done starting right away in design with a sketch, for instance, and using the so-called live search. If you activate it, you will see in this line below the NX window all parts that are similar. On the left-hand side, the part is very similar to the one that you're currently sketching. The other one is not so similar. Before deciding if you would like to use the left or the right-hand part, you have the possibility to inspect the part first and then to decide. And this is what Stefan will show you now.
In NX, I create a new part. In this case, we need a bracket with several drill holes with different diameters. For this purpose, I modify the sketch and add an additional drill hole. To save time, I check if there are already similar parts in the system. To do so, I activate the live search. I find a bracket that is a 78% match to my design. I check it out in the visual preview. To compare, I also have a look at the bracket that matches only 75%. I select the 78% match. It is now visible in the seamless window. There is no metadata maintained for the part yet, so I need to create the part in SAP accordingly. After creating the bracket, it is available in both the CAD system and in SAP ECTR.
Well done. So the next scenario we will focus on is based on a keyword Jürgen has mentioned in the introduction part. It was about purchasing. So this specific keyword has the aspect of purchasing or on the offering process. And here again, we would like to show in an example how geometric similarity search can be used for this specific purpose. So let's suppose a customer sends you a 3D part, a step file, and asks you to provide him with a proposal and a price for this specific product which he would like you to manufacture for him. Very interesting. And now the big challenge for the purchasing department is, did we already do something like this? Was it complicated? What have been the costs? Do we have NC programs to determine costs? Do we have tools which we can also use in our calculation of the costs? What has been the price we have sold the product for? Do we have specifications describing more or less the material that's used for it, and so forth? So how can this be resolved? Therefore, we divided the process, which we will show to you, in two different steps. So the red stands for design and engineering, and it starts with importing the step file, which we have received from the customer, into the SAP system, but also to create a fingerprint, which we use for geometric similarity search. The next part is the blue one, the blue area. It's the purchasing department. The purchasing department gets notified from the design that the part is imported, and this is the starting point for the purchase manager to start the geometric similarity search. There will be search results shown, as you can see here in the table, sorted in the way that the highest similarity is on top, so it's the part itself, and then it decreases or is diminishing with the similarity. So that's a little bit the process that happens, and at the end, determining the price is done with a material search in SAP. And the first step we want to show is the engineer's part, and again, it's my colleague from purchasing this time who receives the step file and then passes over to my colleague who I'll have known. It's Stefan who will do the import functionality, and then in the middle create the fingerprints, provide it into the CADENAS self-made part library, and then allowing it to use the geometric similarity search. Okay, my two colleagues, please start.
I get a request for a quotation from a customer to create and deliver a part called shaft support. The customer has given me a step file for the part. I pass the part onto the design engineering department so they can create a fingerprint.
I open the part shaft support in an X and save it in the SAP system using the function import on demand. Then I switch to the CADENAS PARTsolutions tab and use the insert function to save the file in the PARTsolutions database. I store the part in the own parts catalog and use the add dataset to link database function to create an ERP number. I now specify the material and the location availability. In this case, I decide on 25 chromium molybdenum 4 and an availability at the locations 1, 2, and 3. I have now entered the part in the own parts catalog. It is also possible to use other folders such as special customers.
Well, now the part is available for the geometrical similarity search. I'm in the purchase department in this case, and how does the purchase manager starts? So he will use Engineering Control Center to exactly open this part, use it for geometrical similarity search to get the hit list, and that's very important, you have capabilities in CADENAS PARTsolutions to compare the parts, the one that you have received from your customer, it's the red one, and you can compare it to the one that is the most similar. So that's very interesting. on a geometrical way. You see that there are holes missing, that the dimensions are slightly different, and furthermore you have a lot of further information in this metadata comparison. What's very important, and that was the main question, and using this geometrical similarity search is, behind me it's the material and further information. So starting point is the part. We navigate into SAP and the material that is most likely comparable to the part you have analyzed with geometrical similarity search, and this allows you to at the end detect or provide your customer with a specific price for that product. Okay, my colleague from purchase department will now show you how he is doing his job.
My colleague from Design Engineering informed me that the part Shaft Support is now available in the SAP system. I select the part and I have a look at the metadata in the object browser. Then I start a geometric similarity search via the context menu. 5 search results are shown. These are pre-sorted according to the similarity. The first part is the imported part with 100% similarity. The second part is with 94% similarity, a part that is already available in the catalog. I display the newly imported part in the CADENAS PARTsolutions window. Then I compare the imported part with one of the similar parts. I select the part with 94.5% similarity and display the metadata. Clicking on the command to compare the two parts starts a comparison of the metadata on the left and the geometries on the right. I immediately see that a similar part has 2 additional drill holes and a bevel. To make this even clearer, I place the 2 parts on the top of each other. I choose the part that already exists, which is 94.5% similar, and open it in the object browser of SAP ECTR. There, I select the material number. Subsequently, the SAP Material Master is displayed. Via the context menu of the SAP GUI, I open the material and select the view accounting 1. Here I see the price of €388 for the location Karlsruhe. The similar part is more expensive as it has 2 additional drill holes and the bevel. The quotation based on the quantity requested by the customer is therefore around €360. At this point I could also start a price analysis query. However, as this is a demo system, I have not stored any additional information.
Yeah, Arne, thanks for this visual demonstration, for the many reference cases what you showed to us. So let me mention 1 or 2 things more. So we saw a lot of intelligent find informations, methods to find parts, and here I want to mention some additional things. So we cannot show all the searches and find mechanisms today, but I want to mention 2 more things. One is you can see at the top there's a kids game, so kids have to find the right item which is fitting in these holes. So we call it classification 2.0. You define the shape of the hole. We call it classification without classifying anything. So you see a small item here, and this item, I let already play this video. You can define by a geometrical class the size of these parts. Let's call it, it's like a grid. You can change the inner diameter, the outer diameter. You can make it longer or smaller, shorter, whatever you need to find. And that's the hole what you are defining. And then you searching through your database, and you now seeing the parts who fit in the hole. And here we select a part with a similarity of 95%, for example, and we also display it versus visus. and we can also overlap them, bring them together. We can turn these parts, and you see the green one is what we defined, and the red one is one part what we found. So now me as human person, I have to decide whether I can use this part or not. So that's a thing what I want to mention. And the second thing is we are often asked, so hey CADENAS, Jürgen, so we have some people who come fresh from college or university. They are really like this new innovation methods to search and to find parts. But we still have a couple of old-fashioned people inside the company, and they not even wanna use this new new innovative things. So we call it, they make the last 20 years they made their way, and they will also do it for the next 20 years. How we can stop, or how we at least can control these people? So it's quite easy. So we have a background mechanism. That means even if they don't search, if they start to make a new part, there are mechanisms in the background of it's a preferred supplier, it's no preferred supplier, it's maybe a duplicate part because the similarity is up to 99 or 100%. So also whether it's available in all the countries I need to use the part, for example, global sourcing. That are things, if I check in a part, all these attributes and data are available, so I can search with a background mechanism, and I can find inside less seconds a result. So here's a video which shows this. That's a simple washer. And I draw this in a CAD system. I don't take any responsibility whether it's already available or not. So, and later I of course can see it in a dashboard. You see on the right side the dashboard, but I also will show you another way. It's only check-in, and after you check in, there's running also a process with an emailing system. You can also define emails. Who should get this information? Should only the person who affected this part, or should maybe also the head of the department get this information? So here you see email is an opening, and I get the information. This washer is already available as self-made part. It's available at standard part. It's available as purchase part. And here I still have the possibility to replace my new part with an existing part, because from the check-in till now it's maybe 1 minute, and now I can change still the way of engineering. But if I detect this part in 4 weeks, I don't have any possibilities to replace it anymore. So early bird catch the worm. Summary. So how you can profit from our solution. So at the bottom, there's always the SAP Engineering Control Center. That system is the basement, and this system is the leading system. And up on this system, there's a seamless integration of the part management. So this seamless integration also give the user new functionalities. They don't have to really learn a lot and get trained for a couple of days. No, it's very easy, it's very fast that they learn these new functionalities. So there's also a high return on invest, of course. And let me summarize a couple of functionalities. You get a controlled view to the parts world or to the supermarket. Not everybody can use the parts what he wants. There's also a control mechanism. So you get a lot of new intelligent finding methods. So you also have a multi CAD environment. We are running in a multi CAD world, what Anne showed us. But you also can use us to make your company-specific standard parts, because like many manufacturers are doing it multi-CAD enabled, so you also can do your parts world for internal standard parts by our system and provide it to the different CAD system. So there's a lot of benefits. So Anne, we are now working almost 10 years or more together, so I can summarize it DSC with the ECTR and PARTsolution by CADENAS. So we bring you many time savings, and we also bring you many cost savings. So last example, here's a customer who introduced PLM, and the number of parts still grow after he introduced the PLM system. After he introduced the part management, the parts will got smaller. So, and you can see the difference between what it could be and what it is today. So, and you see there's a lot of time and there's a lot of cost savings here inside what could be and how it is. Yeah, so Felix, do we got some questions in the meanwhile inside the chat? So Arne and me, of course, we would like to answer the questions of our guests.
Yes, of course. Okay, we're running out a little bit of time, but yeah, I think it's okay for you if we at least ask 2 or 3 questions. And yeah, I will start with the first one I found. The question is, we are using CAD desktop and PARTsolutions. What would happen if we switch to SAP ECTR with PARTsolutions?
I think this is a question for you for
Okay.
PARTsolutions.
Yeah. So let me answer the question. Of course, we have a lot of customers still using CAD desktop. That's a former SAP PLM integration. So and we already migrated a couple of these customers. So we have a good migration concept. So our sales, our consulting can help you to bring over the work, what you have already done, what you already have invested. We also have migration packages available. So simple, ask your consultant, ask your key account. There's a good way now to migrate between CAD desktop and the new SAP PLM ECTR system.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Then next question. Do I have to save self-made parts again to use the geometrical similar search with SAP ECTR?
Respond.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to restore or to create new fingerprints, and therefore you need to run a process in the background. We have to do something like this sometimes when you do migration work, to create in the background JT files for viewing purposes. So we would do the same for creating fingerprints and checking them in. It's a background process, but it can be run in a very fast way, since the fingerprints are very small pieces of files.
Okay, that brings us to the next question. Can norm and catalog parts also be integrated in the system without creating automatically a material master?
That's another good question. Yeah. I think I will answer to it, since we have shown something similar in our presentation. So yes, it's possible to only create documents and then to create the materials. This is typically real life, to have a 2-step process. First, the designer or the engineer creates a new part and then sends it to the standardization department, which decides very often if the part becomes public or not. And then, if yes, creates the material master. In our demo system, we did it in 1 step or in 1 run, just for showing the capabilities of the system. Typically, you would do this with a workflow. In our demo system, we used a material status to say, well, this is for request phase. Once it becomes public, again, it's also transparent to the customer as well. So this is how it could work. It's up to you. It's configurational work, how the process should look like at the end.
Okay, thank you. It's just crazy how many questions we're still receiving right now, but I'd say this is enough for now. As I said in the beginning, we will answer the other questions afterwards. Thank you so much, Jürgen. Thank you so much, Arne. And of course, thank you so much for attending at our webinar. And if you have further questions, then feel free to ask them directly to Jürgen or to Arne. And yes, So long, and we all wish you a great day.
Yeah, and see you in the supermarket
Yes.
quite soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.